It's a common misconception that the AI tools out there are bad. They're not. Listen, I'm gonna tell you the 6 different ways that I am currently using different AI tools to save myself hours of work every week. And I'm also giving you several tips for each one of these so that you can actually use AI correctly. I've been using dozens of different AI tools, most of them free, over the past 2 years, all to make this video. So if you like wasting time, be my guest, go ahead and stop watching. But if you can watch this video and learn what it took me 2 years to learn, then I promise you, you will have what it takes to absolutely crush it. Now, let's get into it. Maybe you're not, but I'm sure most of you watching are somewhere near the early stages of using AI. But I'm gonna share, as we know it, the entire life cycle of AI learning so that you can know the end game. You need to know what happens later so that you can do it right now. So step 1, as the thumbnail would suggest, is that the AI tools are not bad, and I just wanna tell you, you are. And specifically, what do I mean by this is recognize that you play a part. And I guess I'll just say this and get this out of the way. I warmed up some tea for our conversation as we sit here, and so I'll be sipping on this. But what do I mean? You play a part in AI actually being good in saving yourself time. And so specifically, I also want to get this disclaimer out there, is that AI is not perfect, and I'm not saying it's perfect, but it is powerful, and it does work assuming you tell it the right things. And so what do I kind of mean by this? I say, and I don't want to spoil the points I have teed up for us to talk about, but one of the things that we're going to get into is how you can actually get better at using AI to help it save you more and more time. And one of the biggest parts of that is what's called your prompt. And we're going to get into this, like I said, in more detail, but if you think AI is bad, I want to encourage you and just tell you it's probably because, actually, it's definitely because your prompts are bad. It's not because it's just not powerful enough, or the large language model stinks, or my internet connection is bad, or my computer is slow and old. None of those things, I can tell you, are having a severe negative impact on the generative AI tool's ability to, help you. And I guess when I'm saying this, I'm specifically talking about kind of like the well-known tools out there like ChatGPT, Copilot, DALL-E. I'm not necessarily talking about any one-off custom generative AI tools that I'm not familiar about. I obviously cannot speak to the credibility of those, but understand that you play a massive part in AI's ability to actually be productive. And so that's kind of step 1, set the foundation, an internal locus of control, okay, I can make AI effective for me. Now, I guess I also just want to say AI is powerful, but it is not powerful enough to replace you. And we're going to get more into these. And so if you are the person I'm speaking to is the person who brings value in their job or what they do or as a person, and they just want to be able to now do more. To that person, AI is going to help you crush it, like I said in the intro. And so that's who I'm talking to. Why is it so important for me to get good at using AI? And why tease up point number 2, which is specifically is that using AI incorrectly or poorly is actually a waste of time. It is hurting your productivity when you are using AI incorrectly. So let me just share an example. And this is, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's been here. Say I wanted to use AI to write an email for me, or I don't know, write some sort of text that would have taken me, say, 5-10 minutes to write up. And I ended up spending 10 minutes trying to get this generative AI to kind of get exactly what I'm looking for and make it perfect, and back and forth and back and forth. And then eventually I get to a point where I just you know what, no, this is not good. And I just scratch it. And so after 10 minutes of already doing that, then I decide to write my email. That was a waste of time and a waste of productivity. And so I don't want to invalidate the learning curve. I'm speaking from personal experience. That is me. But I think it's really important to understand that there's really specific ways, at least right now, that you can use AI. And there's really specific ways you shouldn't use them. And also, we're going to get into that. So, I'm telling you to take time to learn how to use AI, but I would almost say like make it separate. Like, I don't know if anybody, if you feel like you have separate time to set aside and just play around with it. But if you do that, because if you're just kind of using it a couple times a week and not really getting anywhere or whatever, like that is wasting your time. That is hurting your time. But if you can spend, a couple hours just really learning how it works, then you're going to be empowered to really crush it. And so don't waste your time using it poorly. Now, number 3, and I'm assuming you probably already think this because you're watching this, but number 3 is, there's a big disclaimer here, is that you need to recognize that AI is a tool and not medicine. And I don't know if there was a better analogy or a better word choice or simile, metaphor, whichever one it is, to use there, but specifically AI is designed to help you and assist you with mostly and likely kind of the mundane tasks. It is not a cure-all. It is not medicine. AI will not fix your problems. It will only kind of expose them. And so what do I kind of like mean by this? And I want to sit here and for a while is see AI as a tool, not medicine. So specifically from a personal stance, like AI cannot do everything. It is not perfect. It's not going to allow you to, not work or, take 7 of your 8 hours of your work day. A funny example that I've heard is that I don't know if you have kids or, you're at least familiar with, the intelligence of like a 7-year-old, right? Imagine a 7-year-old. And imagine you tell this 7-year-old, hey, 7-year-old, I want you to empty the dishwasher. And that's what you say. That's your prompt, right? And putting it in the context of AI. The 7-year-old will likely take everything out of the dishwasher, the clean dishes, silverware, everything. The likelihood that the 7-year-old is going to put all the bowls where the bowls go and all the plates where the plates go and all the silverware, they're going to sort it out into the little, places where you sort out the silverware, and they're going to put this in the right place. Like the likelihood of them doing all that, making sure that everything was actually cleaned, maybe hand drying certain things that didn't get all the way dry, the likelihood of them doing all of that is very low. Now, if you instead say, hey, Mr. 7-year-old, I want you to empty the dishwasher. And when you're doing that, make sure that these go here, you sort out the silverware in this way, and make sure that everything you take out of the dishwasher is clean, and make sure if anything is still wet, you hand dry it with this towel. If you explain all of that, the likelihood that the 7-year-old will do it, yeah, maybe it's not 100%, but the likelihood that they're going to get closer to the end goal is way, way higher. And so understanding that, recognizing and tying points 1, 2, and 3 all together, recognizing that AI is as good of a tool as you are using it. And so you're not able to say, hey, AI, write me an email, and it write you exactly what you want. It's going to, you need to say, hey, AI, write me an email, blah, 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 to this person from me, who is this person, talking about this, and all the context. And then I would even recommend that I wouldn't just copy and paste and send that email, but that's just a rough draft, which got you 97% of the way there in a couple of seconds, as opposed to having to write all that out. So that's kind of like the preface and the perspective that I am coming from as talking in this video, is that AI is not a cure-all. It is not kind of the antidote, the medicine to laziness. AI is simply just a tool, and the people who are willing to work hard, crush it, as I've said several times, and are just looking for more ways to get more done, those are the people who are actually going to be able to really use AI in an effective way. So, talking about a business perspective, or talking from a personal perspective, but I also want to talk about from a business perspective, because Microsoft especially, but a lot of, different CRM software companies and businesses in general, right? AI is this buzzword. And I think the reality is most businesses are taking the right approach in that, hey, let's pump the brakes here on AI. Is it actually valuable? Is it actually worth our time? Does it actually save time? And is there actually a return on investment? Which, shameless plug for the channel, if you have any of those questions, I have videos on all of those things. But neither here nor there. So specifically with, as a part of this show, I guess I never mentioned this. My name is Griffin Lickfell. I am the host of this show where most of these Power Talks episodes, as we call them, I have guests on that are mostly in the Microsoft Dynamics space. And we talk about things like Microsoft Copilot and AI and how implementing these into your business will have both positive and potentially highly negative effects. And so I guess I just wanted to highlight some of those here as well, in case you're interested. And so AI, again, is a tool, but it is a tool that is going to expose all sorts of things in your business if it's not set up correctly. And let me share a couple examples. Two things that it's going to really expose are improper security and bad data. Those are kind of the two things that kind of come up over and over and over in our conversation. And specifically, say for example, like a story time. A lot of times in maybe people's SharePoint sites or in, the data security, if you now add, a lot of times the security isn't set up correctly in that as a user, I might have access to certain files that I'm not supposed to have access to, but because it might be hidden in a folder that I don't navigate to because of my certain job, it's kind of protected in that way. But Copilot doesn't care about where I'm easily navigating to and what I'm doing and, what I kind of see on my screen. It's going to provide me information based off of my security. It's going to provide me information, based on my security, regardless of kind of what I can see. So an example could be, say there's a folder out there or an Excel document that an HR department uses that talks about people's bonuses or talks about their compensation or talks about disabilities or talks about all these different things. If the security is not set up correctly, I could ask Copilot about those, and if I have access, it's going to spit out all that information and potentially even provide the document directly to me. And this is not to scare you. This is to say hey, it's really important that we sort your business and the businesses sort this out and actually make sure that it's set up correctly to protect you. As well, from a data perspective, Copilot and AI tools, again, are only as good as what it feeds them, as what is fed to them. So if you are wanting to use AI to summarize your data or summarize, information for its users, it's only going to be able to do that if the information that you're wanting it to summarize is good. Copilot and AI tools are not just like a slap this Band-Aid on and now all of a sudden we have a CRM system. It's just simply not the case. It takes very curated data, which is kind of a lot of, like I said, what we talk about on this show with several different guests. It's definitely not all we talk about, but something that we talk about, I feel like that comes up often, especially in today's day and age, as everyone and every business is asking these questions. So, make sure it's set up correctly, I guess is all I'm trying to say. Because AI, if it's not, is useless, which ties it back into point number 2, it wastes your productivity. So, cool. Let's move on to number 4, and I kind of highlighted this, and this is understanding that the most important thing, the biggest impact and role in determining factor of AI's effectiveness is your prompt. So, specifically, what is a prompt? There's a whole, I feel like, industry coming up now about prompt engineering, a whole skill. You could probably add this skill to your LinkedIn profile by now, being a prompt engineer. But what is your prompt? Your prompt is simply just what you tell the generative AI tool, right? It's the paragraph or the text or the speech you say that it then takes and runs with to create whatever it's creating, whether it's, text back, an image, a video, audio, whatever. And so there are actually a ton of different frameworks out there for prompting, and I recommend, look them up, whatever. I'm going to provide one that I use and that I personally like, since I think it's just the easiest and the most straightforward. And follow it. Follow a prompt kind of structure, because especially at the beginning, I feel like it really helps. So what is this prompt structure? Make sure your prompt has some sort of persona, which is like the person that, the AI response, I guess specifically for text-based, the person or, the persona or the identity that the AI tool is creating the content for. So I keep using the context of emails, but, saying, as a sales team member, write me an email that blah, 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 blah. Or as the executive vice president of sales, or as a customer service representative. Like, these are all different personas that you could use in a prompt to write an email that are going to allow the generative AI tools or Copilot to better formulate its response based off of the context that you provide it. Like, that's ultimately what we're getting at here, which is kind of step number 2, is add context. And I've said this plenty of times, so I'm sorry if you're a regular listener to the Power Talk series or have been subscribed for a while, but context is the single biggest secret superpower to making AI effective. And that's just because it's so unnatural for us to talk with the context that Copilot or AI tools need. And specifically because the reason is when we're talking with people, we have context of what our last conversation with them was, or we have context of the sort of relationship we have. We have the context of where we are when we're talking or having a conversation. Are we at work? Are we at a happy hour? Are we at home on the couch? Are we at a sports game? Like, where are we? That's more context. The body language or the tone of voice, that is context that we have when we're communicating. When we are talking to generative AI tools, it does not have any of that. It simply just has the words you say. And I think oftentimes, especially at the beginning, if you actually go back and objectively look at, a prompt, you can oftentimes be like, wait, I see why the AI tool is bad. Because if I read this, if somebody off the street were to just said this to me, a complete stranger, I would not know what they're talking about. Well, neither does Copilot. So taking it back to like the 7-year-old analogy, talking to it as if it's a 7-year-old stranger, and providing that context. So providing a persona, providing context, and then the last one is easier to the goal. Like, what do you want the generative AI tool to produce? And even explaining like how you want it produced. Do you want it in a paragraph format? Do you want it in a bullet point? Do you want it in a table that you can easily copy to an Excel? Do you want hyperlinks? Do you want sources? Like, all these sort of things are different pieces that you could add to your goal and provide more context using your persona, and you're going to be able to have better prompts and ultimately make Copilot generative AI tools actually effective for you. And specifically, something that I haven't actually talked about much on this channel, but I feel like is how I am actually saving a lot of time, is kind of multi-chat prompts. And what I mean by that is, you might not be familiar, but a lot of times what I do is I will say a message, hey, ChatGPT, I am going to, in my next message, I'm going to provide you with yada, yada, yada. I want you, once I provide that, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And then I follow it up with a, do you understand, question mark. And then a lot of times it'll just produce like a yes or no question or yes or no response. Yes, I understand. I will produce a blah, 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 blah using blah, 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 blah in your next message. And you might be able to even, then you can provide a follow-up context. I want a follow-up message for more context. I want your goal or what you share to have this in it, have this in it, have this sort of outline. Here are some examples of what I want you to produce as another message, and paste some examples in there. And then, so you have like 3 separate messages of context that the generative AI tool would be able to use, because it's able to rely on the message thread to produce its next response. And so this, I feel like this is how I actually save a ton of time. So specifically, in my generative AI tools I use generative AI to write a lot of my YouTube descriptions, to write a lot of the what are called like meta descriptions, keyword phrases, intro paragraphs for my blogs. I use it to kind of create a lot of questions that I interview and ask the guests on the show for, to help brainstorm and kind of ideas. And I use it to brainstorm title ideas. I use it for all sorts of stuff. And I actually just have like a YouTube description session that I go back to, and I've set it up in a way where all I have to do is type in the title of my video and 2 or 3 sentences explaining what the video is about, and I hit enter. And when I do that, it looks at all my previous messages, and my first message, which outlined the purpose of this entire thread for the rest of the thread's existence. And so now all I have to do is do that, and then it spits out what I need. I copy and paste it, say, in my YouTube video description, and update it accordingly, and add the chapters and maybe some emojis and update the hyperlinks. But nonetheless, like, it gets me 90% of the way there, and all I had to do was just write 2 sentences explaining what the video is about. Then I take the main paragraph and I have a separate session that's search engine optimized YouTube descriptions. And I take that and I say, hey, here's a YouTube description. Here's the keyword I want it to be search engine optimized for. So I copy and paste, and then I type out, the 3 words. Say it's learning AI tips for this video. I say learning AI tips in the paragraph, and it gets me a second paragraph. And so then I'll add the second paragraph as well to my YouTube description, so that I'll have 2 search engine optimized YouTube descriptions. Another one is I'll use an AI tool to get the transcript of a YouTube video. And then I'll take that transcript, and I have a YouTube transcript to blog post session that I constantly go back to. So I copy and paste the YouTube transcript into there. And now this one definitely takes the most refinement, because the blog posts, again, they get me, I'd say, 75% of the way there. They get, a lot of times I script out certain tutorial videos especially, and I will go through and make sure I hit all these points. And just having to rewrite all of that in a blog form takes a lot of time, like hours. It would take hours per blog post. But instead, I can take the YouTube video that I've already put a ton of effort into creating and producing on my own, and just change the format into a readable blog post format. So I can take that, throw it into my, my blog admin, update it, set all the headers correctly, update any hyperlinks, embed my YouTube video, blah, 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 and do all of that. So, like, I don't know if this is making sense since I'm not showing it on the screen, but you can, create. I realize I never actually said point number 5, which is what I've been talking about this whole time, right? Create a system. So create a system, create libraries, create custom threads, and you could even create custom chatbots if you had different tools like GPT Plus or Copilot Pro, I think it's called, or, these different tools where you can actually create, or get access to custom bots that people in the community have made that do this very thing that you can constantly come back to, that have, like, that thread has a very specific purpose, if that makes sense. I don't put anything else in that thread besides turning transcripts into blog posts. I don't put anything else in that thread besides titles and topics into YouTube descriptions. So I say all that to say, take the time to set these up. Like, I can honestly say this saves me a ton of time. Just this morning, I spent 2.5 hours and I created from YouTube videos 5 blog posts. And these are 3-minute reads. Like, these are not extensive blog posts. They're basically tutorials on how to do, set up certain things in Copilot Studio. So like, these aren't huge blog posts. I'm not like super shortcutting anything, but I'm able to produce a blog in 30 minutes from a YouTube video that took me, say, an hour plus to produce. Some videos take me 20 hours to produce. But I'm able to do that. And now, because of AI, I'm able to have YouTube videos and blog posts because I have built a system that allows me to do that effectively. So take the time to set that up. Massive disclaimer here, making sure you're using safe AI tools. If you are unaware, there are some AI tools that are secure in that the information and the conversations you're having are not stored in any way, shape, or form. And there are, I wouldn't call them unsafe, but unsecure tools in that the conversations you're having are used to further train the model. So those conversations and messages are being stored. So like anything, like our parents taught us, don't share sensitive information on the internet. Tools like Copilot for M365 or tools within your business are often protected because you're often sharing sensitive business information. So use tools like that if you are. Make sure you're using secure tools if you have sensitive and secure information that needs to be secure. So massive disclaimer, right? But nonetheless, set up a system, set up libraries, set up custom threads, use custom chatbots if you want to pay for premium subscriptions to different AI tools. Like, do that. And this is not limited to, people who have subscriptions to premium tools. At this moment, I do not have any. There was a season where I had ChatGPT Plus, had Copilot Pro for a season, but like, I'm able to use my session threads to do what I need it to do, if that makes sense. So you don't need a ton of money to do this. Number 6, final one of the episode, but I know we're definitely going to be here for a while. And this is that, AI has opened countless doors. AI has opened so many opportunities that, how do I want to say this? AI has opened doors to countless new opportunities. And specifically, this is from a business perspective, but also from a job perspective, all sorts of different perspectives. And I want to talk about these now. So specifically from a job perspective, I think I've shared this now a couple of times on this channel, but I heard a statistic. You cannot fact check me because I do not know where I heard it from, and I do not know where the person I heard it from. So I do not know. But they're basically saying that the children today, or the kids being born today, 2/3 of them will have a job that does not exist right now. And I'm not saying that that's solely attributed to AI, but a lot of it is attributed to generally technology, right, and its advancements of society. But this is just a call out from a job perspective. AI has created so many opportunities and things that we don't even know will be opportunities, that it's important for you to even just take time, sit back and think about how this could potentially positively, we'll put a positive spin on this, impact your job. And so specifically from a job perspective, I mean, we have like chief AI officers in different things at certain companies that are like, where their sole job is just how do we approach utilizing AI on a business level and different things. And so, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be kind of AI maintenance roles in a lot of companies, or kind of AI, what you would call it, like champions almost, that are in charge of, helping people and assisting people use different AI tools that are available and within different organizations and all sorts of things. So like, if you are interested in that, like, just recognize, like, there is so much opportunity out there as a person and an opportunity perspective, as well as from a business perspective. And I'm not talking like ways businesses can save money with AI. That's not what I'm talking about here. Yes, that's true. But I'm talking about businesses that can be started because of AI now existing. And what do I mean by that? I mean that AI has the ability to solve pain points, solve issues that were unsolvable before. Like, all it takes is, from a business perspective, to become an entrepreneur is to find a need, find something that is problematic that people have, and solve it. And oftentimes, if you can solve it and people will pay you for that problem to be solved, you have a business. And AI has the ability to solve so many problems that were previously unsolvable or were really hard and expensive to solve. But now you can utilize all sorts of AI tools and license them and use them for free or really cheap and create custom tools and all sorts of different things. So like, I would challenge you to like think about it, investigate it. Like, just have a moment to sit down and realize that AI is creating literally countless opportunities for you, no matter what job you have and different things. So those are kind of, the biggest things I'd say that I've learned from using AI over the past 2 years. And I guess I just want to thank you so much for sticking this far into the video. Normally around this time we have, the after hours happy hour where I love to just sit down and chop it up with the guest and just hear a little bit more about their personality and their hobbies. I'm really bad at thinking about what my after hours happy hour segment is going to be on these solo episodes. But for me, I know it's funny, I talk about being passionate about health and fitness a lot. I could, yeah. So, and I just completely lost my train of thought. We'll sip some tea to that. But I am not much of a runner. I feel like my cardio health is the least strong, like my weak link when it comes to my health. I love lifting weights. I was a football player for over a decade. Was able to play Division I at the University of North Dakota proudly. I was a D lineman, and so I love lifting weights and just being like strong, getting some weight on the bar. And so that's kind of just my like approach to health and fitness. I'm like the least, there's like some, science-based lifting out there. If you are in the space, I am like the least science-based lifter on the planet. I'm pretty much like, I'd say I have a routine, I hit chest some days, back some days, legs some days. I've recently been really trying to implement some running and cardio on some days. But I'm like, how'd that feel? Was that kind of heavy? Yeah. All right. We'll just do that again. As opposed to thinking about all the numbers and the reps and the percentages and everything that I want to do. I'm kind of just the most go with the flow, least science-based lifter. I think that a lot of times people overcomplicate fitness and health. Generally, if you want to lose weight, just eat less and sweat more. It's really just that simple. Unless you're like, I'm not trying to discredit people who have like literal degrees and study this sort of stuff. Those sort of people know a ton and are important. But those sort of people and that sort of knowledge is for 0.001% of people. If you're looking to like compete in something, or you're training like for something competitive or professional, yeah, you need that sort of competitive edge on what is the most effective way to gain X amount of strength in a limited amount of time, or X amount of speed, or whatever. If you are like me now, a washed up athlete who's just trying to be healthy so that I can enjoy life a little bit more and eat a little bit more food, then like, do not overcomplicate it. Sweat a little bit, eat a little bit less. It's okay to be hungry every once in a while. I'm not saying miss a meal, but it's okay to be a little hungry, every once in a while, and different things. Don't overcomplicate it. it's all good, you know, get a sweat on. That's my approach to health and fitness. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'm sure I just made everybody leave that was here 4 minutes ago and just heard me talk about literal nonsense. But if you are still here, like, I need to truly thank you for spending the last 38 minutes with me. I mean, it really means the world that you are here listening to me talk about whatever I'm talking about. And so thank you so much, truly. If you are here, be sure to let me know what your favorite part of the video was, or which one of these points or which little nugget of advice stuck out to you the most. And if you are here, be sure to connect with me on LinkedIn if we are not already connected. I would love to connect with you there. So thank you so much for sticking to the end of the video. My name is Griffin Lickfeld, the host of the Citizen Developer channel, and I'm excited to connect with you in the next one.